The Wandering Earth, a big budget Chinese disaster movie, is streaming on Netflix, and our Chinese friends have a nice shout out to us Filipinos. The Chinese heroes have just come up with a Hail Mary plan to save the world, and they rush to an industrial complex where they hope to rejigger some machine to get the world back on track. They need all the help they can get. Fortunately, at the site, they run into some workers, and the heroes plead with them, "Please help us save the world." And what do these workers do?
Tangina, hindi mo ba nakikita? Wala na lahat, wala na. Kailangan natin dito. Ano pa hihira dyan? Basta tayo dito.
Yep, the workers turn out to be gutless Filipinos who turn tail and run. The Chinese heroes, undaunted, proceed into the complex without any help. Hindi lang tayo mga duwag, pero minumura pa natin yung mga bayani na magliligtas sa mundo.
Tangina, hindi mo ba nakikita? Wala na lahat, wala na. Kailangan natin dito. Ano pa hihira dyan? Basta tayo dito.
The Philippines and China are of course locked in a one-sided contest over the possession of islands and sea areas and rocks and corals and fish and whatnot in the South China Sea, or as we here in the Philippines call it, the West Philippine Sea. There are other nationalities in the movie who are explicitly portrayed as cowards, and no surprise, the Chinese have no love lost for them either. A couple of scenes after the Filipino scene, we see an Indian team hearing the urgent Chinese call for assistance, and the Indians dismiss them as crazy. The Indian flag and accent are quite prominent in this scene, so it's clear that it's Indians running away. China and India, of course, went to war in 1962, and there have been sporadic conflicts along their contested border ever since. So there is some real animosity between these two rising superpowers. Another national team also hears the Chinese call for assistance, and this nationality simply gives up, committing suicide instead of trying to help the Chinese heroes.
我们是414要救援队，
你说是个农民
最后的救援任务，
These guys aren't as explicitly stated as the Indians, but based on their dialogue, wanting to eat fish and rice, it's safe to assume that they're Japanese. The Chinese have never forgotten or forgiven Japan's brutal occupation during World War II, which was preceded by the rape of Nanking in 1937. So again, another nationality that the Chinese are not exactly fond of. So we have three nationalities which the Chinese pretty much despise, portrayed in a not so glowing light. Heck, even the Americans in these scenes get to look noble if not defeated. And this is not some low-budget B-movie. The Wandering Earth is China's second highest grossing film of all time. It is the second highest grossing non-English film ever worldwide. And as of February 2019, it was the third highest grossing film in the world. Of course, this was before Avengers Endgame and John Wick 3 came out. The film is also based on a novella by revered Chinese science fiction writer Liu Cixin, who is a very big deal in China and worldwide as well. So this movie was seen by tons and tons of people and made lots and lots of money. That it was so successful commercially is an indication that the representations therein were familiar and resonated with the film's Chinese audience. To be clear, I am not personally offended by how we Filipinos are depicted in the movie. Truth be told, I laughed out loud when I saw that particular scene. And of course, it's not just the Chinese who poke fun at us in popular culture. There was the old US TV series Desperate Housewives and its crack against obtaining a medical degree in our country.
Okay, before we go any further, can I check those diplomas? Because I would just like to make sure that they're not from some med school in the Philippines.
Popular author Dan Brown called Manila the Gates of Hell in one of his books. More recently, Jason Mendoza on The Good Place is amiable, but he's as smart as a pile of rocks. The character also happens to be Filipino.
You're not supposed to be here either. You're a mistake, just like me.
Yeah, and I'm freaking out, dog. There's so much thoughts in my brain, it's like my head is filled with rocks.
How have you managed to stay undiscovered? Because I have had to dodge and weave and barely escape with my life. And you don't seem like a super genius.
And it's true, every culture has its own preferred stereotypes of everyone else. For example, African Americans are still too often just used as the wise, cracking sidekick in Hollywood movies.
You speak any English? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Native Americans are always spiritual and wise.
I've never shown it to anyone before. After what you said this morning, I thought it was important to let you see.
Will it help me find my animal guide?
Eventually, you'll have to assemble your own medicine bundle. But this will allow me to assist you in your quest for a guide.
Outside of the movies, once I was at the Singapore Zoo and there was a skit on illegal logging. The good guy was portrayed by a very fair Singaporean of Chinese descent, while the logger was portrayed by a dark Singaporean of Indian descent. So yes, we all have our cultural stereotypes, and usually these stereotypes are useful precisely because they are a recognizable shorthand that everyone from that culture understands.
Darmok and Gilad at Tanagra.
So all of that being said, perhaps not all Chinese think Filipinos are cowards. But it would seem to be a popular enough belief that its inclusion in a major Chinese film is seen as normal and unremarkable. Who you gonna call when you need to save the world? Not Pinoys.
Tangina, hindi mo ba nakikita? Wala na lahat, wala na. Kailangan natin dito.
Ano pa hihirang dyan? Basta tayo dito.